Homelessness has many faces. It's not just a drunk, clochard, dirty and stinky on the streets, which is very obvious. It could be the old grandma just around the corner, trotting around with a little suitcase. There are many different and various reasons why people end up on the street. And as various as these reasons are the stories behind these people. These people weren't born homeless. Each one of them has a story behind. What has happened to them in their life? And I think it's a very important and interesting question to ask. What has happened in their life that they've become homeless? To be frank, dealing with that issue and during the preparation and the shooting process, all that made me aware of these people and I asked myself, what has happened to them? What's the story behind? Divorce, betrayal, illness, loss of job, old age poverty, etc., etc. Many reasons. But even though through the preparation you try to become one of them and you adapt to them more and more, still the prejudices in your head die hard. But even though they're homeless and they're living on the streets and they're set out of what we call society, they're still human beings. And we should never forget that. Through playing a homeless man, I figured out that living on the streets is a real tough business. And if you want to get back on your feet, you really have to work for it. You have to have a certain routine and you have to master discipline. You really have to master discipline to not get totally lost and wasted. And it's a very thin line if you're living on the streets. As we were shooting on the streets, I just went to a supermarket in a break just to get something, chocolate bar or whatever. Or we took the public transport to get from location to location. And the way people looked at me, even people who knew me but haven't seen me like this before, well, that kind of look, it did hurt. And if you face these kind of looks every day, all day long, from daytime to nighttime, well, I can really understand why people are feeling like escaping into the arms of alcohol and drugs to be able to cope with that. It really hurts. How did I prepare for the role of Eric Telton? Well, I went on the streets and lived on the streets. Spent the night on the street just with no money in the pocket and tried to make my way through it. And it was very cold. It was, I guess, beginning of April or whatever. And yeah, it's a real tough business. Everything did hurt afterwards, and once you've got the cold in your bones, in your body, it's really hard to get it back out again. So yeah, went on the streets, lived on the streets. I observed people living on the streets, tried to adapt their routine, tried to spot them, to observe them. And I've been going to some locations where homeless people can go to get a coffee, to get magazines they can sell on the streets, and talk to the people there, and got some background information about what kind of homelessness are existing actually, because there's not just one kind of homelessness. We always see just the clochard on the streets, but there are many faces of homelessness. The challenges of being the lead actor and producer at the same time in the way we were shooting guerrilla style on the street was the focus. Very much the focus. Because you had to be aware of so many things simultaneously going on, about being ready to run away if we were shooting somewhere where we weren't allowed to shoot maybe, then getting things settled for maybe the next shooting day, during the shoot on the certain day. And so the focus of really being into these different places at the same time and just switching from one to the next, that was actually the hardest challenge. So I was very glad when our co-producer David jumped in and came on board. He made an incredible, marvelous job, and he took over so much of these operative working staff, so I could better concentrate on the shooting during the shooting days. And really, David, thank you for that. Really made a lot of things much easier. But on the other hand, we were very lucky, and we were shooting with a kind of low, no budget basis. And but surprisingly, even all those special occasions we needed for the shoot, because we didn't want to cut them out of the script, because they were important to tell the story. Everything worked out surprisingly well. So somehow we made it, and we got it done just by believing in it and going for it. Even sometimes we didn't have a clue or plan if we can manage it or not. We just did it. And yeah, it was good. Lara and I, we look back on the history of working together for about 3 years already, since I first came to Berlin. And then one day I told her a bit about this character I invented once, and she picked it up and she brought it back to me, and so then we developed this thing, and she then wrote out of my notes and out of my kind of sketch of the character. She wrote this incredible script, which was just, well, really flowing. And then on set, it was also very, very tough for her to shoot, because she was in one-person union nearly everything of the movie: the light department, the technical advisor, the camera, the sound, and of course producer, and then on top director. So she made a marvelous job, absolutely. And yeah, I would do it again, of course, with her all the time, every time again.